Hello everybody and welcome to another list video here at Playing Board Games. Today, Travis, myself, and maybe Bryn, we don't know when he's going to walk in, he might walk in eventually, are going to be talking about 12 cards that we want to see on the next Taboo list. The new Taboo list should be coming, and as far as I'm aware, I just checked the Discord, it is not out today, so that is good.
Nice.
If you don't know what the Taboo list is, I made a video about what it is. It's a set of, it's not like a lot of people say, like, it's because they can't, like, they're like balancing the cards for an optional rule set for people who play this game as much as we do, right?
Yeah.
When you're playing the game like just like once a month, you don't need to play with the Taboo list unless you want to, right? So they're not like required changes, and honestly a lot of the Taboo list changes are relatively minor, and most of the ones we're going to be talking about today are also relatively minor because it's just like small tweaks for cards that perform a bit above their level or a bit below their level.
Yeah.
So why don't we go through our cards? The first one we have here is Resourceful. So this is one that I wanted to add to this list. I love Survivor cards. And early on when we were first talking about stuff like Resourceful and Graveyard Recursion, it's just, it's a very risky part of the game, right? Because recursion is very powerful. Mm-hmm. And in all cards games, recursion can become too powerful if they get too many tools for it. And I think at this point now, Resourceful is just like, it is like the staple red card. But I think it would still be played just as well if it removed itself from the game after it did its thing.
That would be pretty fair.
Yeah. Because like, you look at like things like look at the Eucatastrophe problem, right? That was because of Silas and Resourceful. You look at what Stella Clark can do when she has an endless amount of neither rain nor snows. That comes down to Resourceful and True Survivor, right? You look at Lucky 3, a card that's really powerful and kind of over the top, but what makes it so strong is the fact that you can, with Resourceful, play a bunch of them. So I think if this Resourceful just removed itself from the game after it happened, that would be a good fix for it. Because right now it's gone to the point where Travis predicted that it was just going to be a bit too powerful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of cards that wouldn't need to remove themselves if Resourceful did.
I think it's unlikely Resourceful will see this change because it's like the deduction of red at this point.
Yeah,
right?
kind of.
But I think it would be better for people who do play with the Taboo list if it did kind of just said see ya after.
Yeah.
All right, next up on our list is Practice Makes Perfect. It's like, I feel like this is just the Justin card and then the Travis card. So what about this one, Travis? What do you want to see for this?
I'd like to see it maybe cost experience. Or something to like not impact deck building so much and make it a choice rather than something you kind of fall into.
Because you have that loop where you put a practice card in and then you're like,
well, yeah, you look. Of course, you have practice cards. You're playing yellow. You're playing deduction.
Yeah. And
then you're like, oh, you're probably playing perception as kind of a filler. And then a lot of the times, whatever your secondary color is, you're like, oh, I could probably justify like a couple promised powers or like some overpowers or what have you. And then you're like, well, I also play a couple other garbage cards, and then also Practice Makes Perfect, and boom, it's a third of your deck gone.
Yeah. And I've seen it happen in real time too. We were doing like a deck building video.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden you're like, so we have deductions, perceptions, and you're like, okay, we gotta look at Practice Makes Perfect and get that in there. Russ, this is not what you need to be doing. Yeah, and it's I think this one is a hard one to balance with the Taboo list, but I do agree it's kind of become a bit, and like people could say just don't play it, but when you want to like win, you gotta play it. Like it's really good.
I mean, it's also a fun card to play.
It is fun, yeah.
But no, even if it costs like one or two, two experience or whatever, is something that like I would look at playing if I was playing a skill heavy deck, but I wouldn't necessarily build around every time. I don't think.
Yeah, definitely.
So, I think that one's got a pretty easy change for it.
Yeah. All right, what do we got next? Summon Hound. So this one's kind of just like a for fun idea that Bryn brought up in a video that's coming up. And admittedly, it is a lot of text, but who cares about taboo? Who cares about the taboo list cards? So I do think that like one thing that I think this game. It's like this is like the complete opposite of what I talk about on the Discord a lot, but I do think that this game would do better with more reminder text for things, right? Like on Spectral Razor, if it had the reminder text, this can be used to target an aloof enemy, right? Because then if you compare it to something like the Fangs of Tira or whatever it is, that can't be used to target an aloof enemy because the word's on the card.
It doesn't need reminder text, it just needs actually consistent rules.
That's also a very good point. Yeah, that's also a very good point. And I do feel like that they should keyword things more, and they finally have done it with the research keyword, right? And they should definitely have done it with the bonded cards. Just had like bonded this and this, right?
Yep.
And it just would have saved a lot of room. But I think that like this could have been on like this wouldn't be on the summoned hound. This would be on the enemy that it turns into. But the damage that is on the summoned hound should have been moved to the enemy just from the flavor perspective. Because otherwise, like, the only time but it's really, like, against the point because the only time you see people play summoned hound is when they're playing, like, Patrice and they're just, like, cheating it into play, right? Like, that's the only time that I've seen summoned hound actually be played. So this is kind of more like a for fun than actually a concern because... That's Summoned Hound, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's also, like, not a good card, really.
No. I mean, it's good in Patrice. That's, like, it's good in that home, yeah.
Yeah.
Especially with the card we're going to be talking about in a bit. It's really good. Deep Knowledge. So this is a trifecta. We have Deep Knowledge, Faustian, and Promise of Power. So with these ones, these are the Curse level 0 cards that are just all a tiny bit too good.
Yeah, they really underestimated how strong, or how detrimental a couple curse tokens is.
Yes.
Overestimated.
I think at this point, like, I think people would still play it if it was 3, 3, and 2 curse tokens each. Mm-hmm. But I think it would be a bit more impactful to balance out the negatives, like the negative side, right? Because like the positive side is really good. Because like you play Promise of Power in every deck now, pretty much. Like you can play.
Yeah, why wouldn't you?
Yeah, because the card's just good.
Yeah.
Because like, and you understand, like we've talked about it, the design process for Promise of Power, because it was like 1 curse token, you draw it, this becomes an unexpected courage. But in reality, this should be 2 curse tokens, you draw them, you didn't commit a card, right?
Yeah.
Because then you basically nullify what you put in. So you get nothing out, right? So like that's how it should be, but it isn't.
Yeah.
Likewise with these ones, like people might not be playing Deep Knowledge, but the card is really good.
Yeah, like it probably should be.
Yeah. Like it's just a 0 cost, draw 3.
Yeah, you can pass like preposterous sketches.
Yeah.
Where there has to be a colonial location and it costs 2 resources and you don't get to dig up the cards.
Yeah, I was doing a draft stream on Monday, and in my pool I drew preposterous sketches and Deep Knowledge, and I was like, this is an easy choice. One is good and one is fine.
Yeah. No, it's something like I brought up earlier with Justin when we were putting them on the list is I personally don't find Faustian Bargain and Deep Knowledge quite as egregious as Promise of Power because you're just playing them over. They're just better versions of cards you were going to play in your deck instead. Yeah. Whereas in Promise of Power's case, not every deck wants just generic skill cards, but like you should play Promise of Power because +4 is a lot of plus.
And like it works, it gets anyone out of a bind, right? They're like, oh no, I have to test Brain, but I have 1. And you say, now you have 5.
Yeah. And they're like, whoa.
And like, I also think that like, it's kind of like my thought too, is because Travis has to bring his curse tokens every time.
Every week.
That I think that these cards, in theory, should have been like, these are cards you want in a curse deck, not just cards that fit anywhere, right?
Yeah.
And like Promise of Power, Faustian are like, it is true because like when I was doing some limited collection deck building, I looked at the old green economy and I'm like, it was poopy. Yep. Right? But now it's like Faustian Bargain is like a very good card for green, right?
This is a tough design balance though, right? Because you don't want your cards from the Innsmouth Conspiracy to be exclusive to that campaign. You want them to add to your card pool and not be their own little bubble. Mm-hmm. You want them to be that parasitic. But these definitely should have been... Like, they should be playable outside of curse decks if you really want them, but they should be, like...
not
you should
auto
only
includes.
you should only want them if you're in a curse deck.
Yeah, that's
right?
yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Like maybe a Faustian Bard only gave you 4 resources or something.
I think 4 would be. I mean, it's also like what's so good about it too is that you can distribute them as you want.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's just like.
Or it could be like gain 2 resources and then you can put up to 3 curse tokens in, and then for each one you do, you get.
Yeah, that'd be sick. That'd be cool. That'd be cool.
Yeah, you can distribute them or something like that. I do feel like they phoned in a little bit on the designers.
Yeah. All right. Up next, Quick Learner, Travis. This one was you put on.
Yeah, I think that this card should probably be like. I don't think it's quite good enough to be exceptional, but it should probably be like limit 1 per deck.
Mm-hmm.
This card's like good when you have one of them, but when you have 2, it's pretty ridiculous.
Yeah, basically getting like, because you're gonna bomb your first test. That's the rule of this card, and then you get like unexpected courage, essentially. Like, and then like also like this comes down to the Stella thing too. Stella can go really good. This is a card that is good with is a permanent. Yeah, that's the thing too. Like it's also a permanent. Like it's like you might be looking at the card and like an unexpected courage every turn isn't that strong. You look at something like Dream Diary. Dream Diary, you need to research, you need to find, and then it becomes Poggy, right?
Well, you also have to pay resources for it, and it takes up a hand
Yeah,
slot,
exactly.
and you don't just have it at the start of every game.
Yeah,
forever.
And like the downside is like in most decks, when you're putting a Quick Learner, you don't care about the downside, right? And even like limit once per would still be fine. Yeah.
It still do what it wants to do. It's just not like as swingy as the 2.
This is the card that when you get Patrice and Summoned Hounds, it can get really nice too, because then you just get to just fight, bite, find clues.
Fight and bite.
It's really good. Flute of the Outer Gods. This guy needs some help.
This card's ass. Why is it exceptional? Like, I get why, kind of, because it's like an important thing in the mythos, but also it's really bad.
Yeah, it's I can't ever imagine myself in a world where I would want to pay 8 experience for this.
God, it's 8.
Yeah.
Like, you also have to be putting curse tokens in, and you have to have a way to find it, and you also have to, like, want this effect.
Yep.
Which is just not that good.
Yeah. Yeah, because you have to seal the things, and you have to pay for all the curse tokens you want to put on it. Like, just think, like, there's...
The paying is, like... Paying to seal the curse tokens is not the worst part of this.
Yeah.
The problem with this card, and that's saying something.
Yeah. I mean, like... Yeah, no, it's, I don't know, like, what... The thing is, like, I look at this card, and I honestly just don't know...
Like, what are you doing? Are you paying 18 experience to play 2 Rite of Equilibriums and this into your deck?
Yeah.
Like,
I just look at, like, I don't know what I would do to this. Like, yeah, you can use it to kill things, but, like, so does Shriveling.
honestly, like, I would make this, like, not exceptional, and then I might try playing with it.
Yeah. 4 experience, yeah.
Yeah, that's also part of the issue, is, like, it's just impossible to put into your deck. Like, you only get 1 copy in a color that doesn't really have good card draw.
Yep.
And you have to play a bunch of subpar cards to, like, make it work, probably. And then you have to pay 8 experience. My God. In a color that's already incredibly hungry for experience.
Yeah, and then, like, its effect is kind of just what you're already doing with, like, cheaper cards. Moving an enemy, which is good, right? Or deal a damage to an enemy, but, like, which is good, but, like...
Tessla's damage isn't awful, but...
It isn't awful, but, like... I don't think it's worth all the hoops that this card is requiring.
No,
right?
like,
at the level it is. At the level it currently is.
I would try this card if it wasn't exceptional, and maybe if it didn't exhaust for its ability.
Yeah.
But as is, it's pretty awful.
Yeah. I feel like something happened in design that they were like, this card's a problem, we just gotta kill it. Right? Because I don't understand why. Like, especially when you compare it to a certain hammer. Yeah, like,
Is that the next one?
Yeah, no, it's not the next one. But it also comparable actually to this book. Like, the book is good. It is less strong than, like, we initially thought it was. But there is still, in my mind, a bit too much on this card. And even though people have disagreed in the past. I do think that this card and the Gateway, the book, the
Gateway to ARKHAM.
Yeah, that they're gonna limit design space for scenarios in the future.
Yeah, I don't think this card's like Justin said, too good anymore, but I think it's really, really poor design.
Yeah. It just has a lot on it. And I think that these movement effects, the best way to curb the potential risk is that it just should exhaust when to move an investigator to a location. I think at this point, I mean, I'm going to be honest, the ignore attacks of opportunity is awful. Like, that just should not...
That's like the poor design.
Yeah, that should just not be on the card. But I'm okay with that if like that's like what they wanted for it, even though I disagree. But I think that the moving should just exhaust, just for like a safety valve for the future.
Yeah.
This is like one of those things that eventually they'll be like, because like Luke can do this. That's what people say. Luke can do this. Yes, but Luke can't do this to other people, right? Multiple times in a turn. So it's like, I wouldn't be surprised if we see like the remove from the game treatment of an effects like this in the future. Yeah. Janae.
She just does like a little bit too much for 3 experience.
Yeah.
She'd be a lot more comfortable as like a 4, maybe 5 experience ally.
Yeah, because I think like Michael Lee's card reads stronger, right?
Yeah,
more soak, like that, all that thing. He's cheaper. He's maybe cheaper. I'm not sure of his cost.
Yeah, he costs 4 or maybe, I don't know.
He
could also probably be like 4 experience, I think.
I think
how niche he is, but...
I think both of them could end up... Yeah,
he costs 4.
I think both of them could be comfortable at 4 experience. I think Janae is just a bit too strong at 3.
Yeah, she's a little bit too much, especially when you can be like... She has a similar Prophesy Profana impression where you just shuffle all the enemies out of the way.
Yep. Yeah. And even though like it doesn't sound that crazy, the ability to like suck up a clue from a location can be just very good as well. For 3 experience, it's very good.
Yeah, there's a couple like high shroud locations that don't have very many clues on them, and that you need to get the clues off or like have victory or whatever on them, and you just like move back and forth a little bit.
Yeah. It's like investigating for free.
It's like not making a test.
Yeah, because we're not saying that she's like broken, because she's not.
No,
she's
like
just
a little too good.
Just a little too good. Go up to 4 XP. She'll be better. And then I can see Michael Lee. He could go down to 4. Yeah. They're very comparable, the two. They're both in Seeker. I love it. All right. Eon Chart. This card's nuts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's also like an item.
It's also an item.
So you can recur it.
Yep. It's one of my favorite decks I've ever played was a Bob deck that abuses this with Joey the Rat and scavenging.
Yeah, that sounds like
wild.
Pretty abusive.
Yeah. I don't really know like what to do to fix this. I do love that it still comes up occasionally where there's, even though like the accepted play style is that it's 2 different actions.
Yeah.
But it still hasn't been clarified. And like it's still kind of like you still have people who are like it could be the same action, and I just wish that they like clarified, like maybe on the card.
I hate that argument for so many things where they're like, well, it reads pretty confidently. So some people are like, yeah, but it doesn't explicitly say it's not.
Yeah,
it's like, come on, man.
It's
use your brain a little bit.
It's what would you do to this one? Make it lose item?
Take up 2 necklace slots.
Take up 2 necklace. You need a relic under. Honestly, I would love it if it wasn't, because I don't really know. Because, like, the item recurring is tough. It's easy to find. Maybe if it wasn't secrets and it was, like, like...
Charges.
Or Eon pieces, right? Like, pieces of Eon, like something that doesn't exist. Just so, like, you couldn't do more with it. But I think the card is really strong. Like, it's really strong.
It is really, really strong, yeah.
Yeah. Because, like, you get this out with an Ariadne's Twine, and just your 1 resource a turn turns into a move and an investigate each turn.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Which is double, I think it's like quadruple skills
that
potential.
That one's an Ariadne's Twine issue, which should be on this list.
Well, that's why I mean, like, the secrets, right? Like, targeting that. Because, like, this, it could have been something else.
It's not that it, like, shouldn't, like, the scavenging thing with Joey the Rat, like, you have to jump through a whole bunch of hoops.
Yes.
If you're playing that deck, you're just playing that deck, right?
Yes,
Which is, I think, is fine.
Yeah.
But, like, I don't mind cards that are obnoxiously strong in certain archetypes.
Mm-hmm. But just
for the most
generically
part.
strong.
Yeah, but generically strong cards that, like, push out other options are no bueno.
Well then, Travis, do I have the card for you?
I know you.
Our last
I
card
swing the hammer.
to talk about here. Yeah, I swing the hammer. That's all you do. This is wild.
Yeah, it's kind of ridiculous that this got printed.
Yeah. It's so good. Like, it's absurdly good. I don't like... On our Discord, there's a lot of conversation about how people would taboo it. I think just though the reality is, it just kind of like... When I build a Guardian deck now, I have to choose to not play the hammer. Because it's just so good.
Slap exceptional on it and call it a day.
Yeah, like honestly, they could. That's what they did to Kiev Yeast,
Yeah,
right?
So
Yeah,
I think that's the right choice.
that's probably the simplest thing. Yeah.
If I were to change this to like if I were to like change this in the design process, I'd probably have it be like, have like 2 charges or something like that, and then you can get the +3 or the +2 damage on the Succeed by 3 by Spanga charge.
Yeah. Yeah.
But like, yeah, just slap exceptional on this and call it a day, I think.
Yeah, but even then, even with that, it's still just baseline like a better time, like a Time War brand, but better, which is it should because it's better than a neutral, right? But it's still just kind of like Cyclopean Hammer is a wild card.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's also absurd that like Mystics can just play this.
And then also play spells.
Yeah, and also play other cards too.
Yeah, I feel like this also could if they put I don't think that this should not be a Mystic weapon. No.
That was one of the issues I had with the multicolor cards when they came out. A lot of them feel like they are the second color for the sake of being the second color.
Yeah.
I feel like this adds burning. That's a purple thing.
Like some of them were good. I can't remember any off the top of my head, but I know there's some where like that. Like Enchanted Bow. Enchanted Bow's a good one. Enchanted Bow's a good one.
I can't remember any of them, but some are. I'm sure.
Enchanted Bow, that's the one.
Medical Student's good.
Medical Student's good.
I like him.
The healing survivor spell, Mystic Survivor spell's nice.
Yeah, that protecting the Anaric one.
That one's good. Yeah. So we got a few.
Yeah, most of the spell ones are pretty okay.
Yeah. Snipe is not. Yeah, the one with the guy going that one's good.
But yeah, it's not a great card, but
but it's a good design for the 2 colors.
Yeah.
This one, Old Shotgun, also is another successful. This one, not so much.
No.
I agree. I think the best thing for this one is just slap on exceptional and be like, we've done it, folks. We've nailed it.
Yeah, like not even that.
Yeah. And also, I do know that they did say, I'm very interested to see what happens, but Lola is going to be tabooed to be better. Or maybe could you imagine Taboo her to be worse? That'd be so funny. That would be hilarious.
Taboo for Lola. Buy a second copy of Path to Carcosa. Include 4 copies of her weakness.
Yeah. Otherwise, you can't play it. That would be funny. So I'm curious to see that, and I'm very excited to see what the taboo list is. If you're watching, what do you guys want to see tabooed? Please let us know down in the comments. In the meantime, have a great one. We love you, and as always, a GG's.